Welcome back. We have made regular sized swords. We have made giant swords, like 8 foot long. What we haven't made is baby tiny little swords. And there is somebody that I follow on Instagram, The Pocket Forge. Is it The Pocket Forge? Or is it Pocket Forge?
It's The Pocket Forge.
Hello. Oh, there we go. Spoiled it. He's here. Ben runs The Pocket Forge.
Hello.
Welcome. Thank you very much for coming to the workshop. What is The Pocket Forge?
Yeah, I just make tiny swords. I wanted to make full-size ones, but I just lack space and time. So yeah, I did miniature ones as a bit of a hobby, and it kind of took off, and now I'm obsessed.
That is brilliant. I love that not being able to make big swords didn't stop you from making things. You just decided to make small swords.
Yeah, it's just a tiny little niche now.
So we're going to collaborate and make a small sword together out of small Damascus steel. So let's
You're making a long sword.
Well, it's going to be a small long sword. Oh. A long small sword? How do you say it?
Definitely not a short sword.
Not a short sword.
A schlong sword.
We're making a schlong sword. It's so dingy! Who needs a power hammer when I am the power hammer? It's welding perfectly fine on the hand hammer. Now we're just gonna draw it out a little bit thinner. Would you like to jump in?
Get on then.
And it actually looks like you're making remarkable progress. So I've got this forged out and twisted into this little bit of bar right here. I'm now going to hand it off to you to forge the blade, because you know how to forge the blade on these things. But let's have a look at the design. What is it that we're making, and what are the design components here?
So we're making a 15th century longsword. So we're going to have a nice fullered blade, kind of broad as well. We're going to have a crossguard with a simple little sweep to it, wooden core handle with a leather wrap, and some risers there to give it a bit of grippy texture, and a nice steel pommel. And the tang is going to come all the way through, and we're going to do a tiny peening on the end.
So it's going to be constructed like an actual sword?
Yeah, pretty much.
You don't take shortcuts just because it's miniature?
No, just tiny cuts afterwards. So now I'm just beveling the braid, going to get a little bit of width on it. It'll just make it a little bit easier for us to establish the geometry once we start grinding it.
They are definitely the smallest bevels that I've ever seen.
Tiny Beverly Hilltop.
Adorable bevels.
But obviously it's so small that they do get cold very, very quickly, and I don't want to overforge and then risk getting
You're going to have like 8 hits a heat when the material's this tiny.
There's a lot of back and forth. This is why I use an induction forge.
Somebody's gonna die.
Did I undersnip?
I think you undersnipped. The snip was not snip enough. Come on. There we go. Whoa!
Right.
Sorry, Jamie. You almost got stabbed.
Would you like to forge a tiny tang?
I think we should forge it. You want me to forge the tiny tang? Now we just got to anneal it. All right, so while that cools down, what could we work on?
Should we make a crossguard?
This bad mama jamma right here.
That bad mama jamma right there. So I was thinking of asking for something a bit thicker than this, but now I want to use this.
That might be stainless steel.
Okay, not this.
How about a nail? We have a selection of rusty nails from which to make a crossguard. Would that be appropriate?
Yeah, perfect.
Oh, do you need the forge hot?
To be honest, I wonder if like the ambient heat alone is going to be enough to get this to a workable state. Right, yeah, it's got a little glow to it.
So you do most of your stuff in an induction forge?
Yeah, it's so good. Like, yeah, I have a tiny little wooden built workshop at the bottom of my garden. So ambient heat just turns it into a sweatbox straight away. So having something that is instant, is really efficient, has just been a game changer for me. So I will take your choppy boy back and I'm just going to get rid of this a little bit.
It's quite practical that the materials that you require for your business.
They go a long way.
You could probably run your business for a year from the offcuts that are just to the right of the chop saw.
Yeah, I mean, I'll help myself, and yeah, so you don't have to take them to the dump.
Yeah, please do. Take some Damascus scraps. That looks phenomenal. That's a bloody sword guard.
So I'm going to just use the tiniest milling machine in the world just to do a teeny little slot in there.
And when you say tiny little milling machine, you're not joking.
It's pretty small.
He asked me, hey, should I bring my milling machine for this project? And I go, nah, it's fine. We've got a perfectly good Bridgeport mill. How many RPM do you need to go? My Bridgeport goes about 2,000 RPM. How many RPM do you usually use?
20,000?
That's a lot of RPMs. And so you brought the milling machine and then proceeded to place the milling machine in my hand upon your arrival. I have never seen a milling machine so diddy and so adorable. Small interruption to thank today's sponsor. One of the things I know for sure is that bad habits and cold turkey do not go well together. Instead, warm turkey is much better. And today's episode is sponsored by Fume, which is even better than warm turkey because it is a little device to take away the bad in your habits, leaving only the good. The way it works, it has these little scented cores that you put in here, meaning that you get flavored air, and that's all it is. You can adjust the airflow at the bottom, and there is a lot of flavor that comes from it. Now, they've got a ton of other flavor cores that you can try. My favorite, though, of course, is crisp mint. But one of the things I especially like about this is the feel in the hand. It's got a little magnet, so you can click it, you can twizzle it. So give it a shot and join Fume in accelerating humanity's breakup from destructive habits by picking up the Journey Pack today at tryfume.com/Alec Steele. You can also scan the QR code that's on screen, use code Alec Steele at checkout, and you're going to get 10% off your first order. That's tryfume, tryfum.com/Alec Steele. Let's get back to the video. All right, so bloody hell, we are moving quite fast. Guard's done. Blade is still cooling down. That's how quickly the guard was done. Next up, pommel. Yeah.
So we're going to go for a little scent stopper type pommel.
Wait, why is it called a scent stopper pommel?
Maybe it's because you bash someone in the nose with it. That's my guess. So we're going to use this little bolt. We're going to turn it and then drill a hole through it once we've got the general shape. In fact, it would be clever for us to drill a hole in first, so at least we know it's central. So shall we do that now?
That sounds great. Mill. Yes. Oh my goodness, it's so diddy and adorable.
Nice.
This little mini milling machine is fantastic.
Yeah, this was my birthday present from my lovely wife, and like it's just been a game changer. We have all in a bolt, all in a bolt.
So not only did you bring a milling machine to the workshop, you also brought a lathe.
I brought a lathe of sorts.
That's the lathe.
It's an Artisanal 3-lane lathe.
It's brilliant.
And, yeah, you shouldn't try it.
This is one of those things where I'm like, wow, I'd love to tell people do not try this at home. But then on the other hand, I'm like, by God, it is so cool that like these completely normal tools that everybody has in their house, you've now turned into a lathe.
You can abuse tools so badly if there's no one to tell you not to do it.
What a gorgeous pommel. Got a hole that runs the whole way through. And best of all, it was made from a bloody bolt. This sword is going to be made out of a nail, a bolt, and some Damascus steel. Oh, love.
Love.
Hole in the pommel needs to be made into a bit of a slot. With the itty bitty pommel done, it's now time for a little bit of finishing on the guard, which is going to happen while I rough in the grinding on the blade itself. What lovely fuller that you have put it in there.
Thank you. Shall we heat treat?
I think that's a grand idea. So I'm going to get this thing hardened, then I'm going to hand sand it, which is just going to be thrilling, so we're not going to show you that. Instead, we're going to show Ben making a lovely little handle out of that lovely little popsicle stick. Explosions! That heats up very, very quickly. 3, 2, 1, go time! Dun, 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 dun. Whoop. Sorted. Hand's coming through pretty nice, if I dare say so. What do you reckon, Ben?
Beautiful.
Straight as a whistle.
So while Alex is sorry.
I dropped
And he
it.
dropped the hardened blade.
Oh, I dropped it.
That kind of takes the pressure off me for saying your name wrong. While Alec, with a K, is painstakingly hand sanding and not dropping our very brittle blade, I'm going to make a little wooden handle. So we've got a little popsicle stick. I'm going to just cut it in half, make a little channel with the tiny mill. And then once that's made and sanded to shape and fitted to the handle, we're going to then wrap it in leather.
That's so cool. I'm halfway through hand sanding.
Beautiful. First thing to do is to wrap it in fine thread. That will secure it and give it a bit of texture. I'll then do some risers, which will be made out of slightly chunkier. So I'll do one here, one there, and one there. Then I'm going to wrap it in some very fine leather. And yeah, then we'll have a little handle. And then we can dye it with these leather dye goodies.
Is looking beautiful.
Thank you.
While you've been doing that, I've hand sanded the blade and we're now going to etch it in Tesco's finest Colombian coffee. In she goes. Oh my gosh! That's sick! Oh my lord, what have we done? That was made with a hand hammer.
I'm feeling slightly tearful.
Ben, this is just the coolest thing ever. It is fabulous. Thank you so much for helping us make this. Where can people find out more about your work and buy the awesome mini swords that you make?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at The Pocket Forge, also on Etsy, also at The Pocket Forge, and on various other social media accounts that I've made and forgotten about at The Pocket Forge.
Please go support his business. Get yourself a small sword. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Get yourself a Schwartz sword.
A schlong sword.
Get yourself a schlong sword. And big thank you as ever to today's sponsor, which was Fume. Try fume.com/Alec Steele. 10% off with code Alec Steele. See you on the next one. Bye-bye.